Now, one thing I'll let you kind of share, because actually this isn't my area of expertise that much, but you can share about the way that you have to cool during volleyball or physical activity. And I'll let you kind of take the lead on this.
So it's super complicated to explain to people who don't understand that it's definitely not anything to be called for. Like nobody knows how to label it.
Yes.
But I do not, for some reason, I will overheat when I'm in a high intensive kind of exercise. Volleyball
It is pretty high intensity.
An example. Yes. So let's just say at the beginning, we're just peppering or anything. Yes, I am sweating. Okay. The moment we start doing like rallies and games and this and that, all of a sudden, for some reason, I don't sweat. So all that friction, transition, blocking, everything, I'm getting heat, I'm getting hot and overheating. And I feel like I have this huge like capsule over me. The heat's not releasing. And if I don't watch out, I can get up to 104.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is that I constantly, during games, during timeouts, I have to try my best to cool back down with just a simple cold water with ice and a rag. Like there's nothing more I can do because we play indoor. I can't put everybody else at risk because I'm like getting the whole rest of the court wet. So it was very hard to find solutions, and there were different pills and stuff that maybe we could try, but that would be a potential red flag if it was to pop up during a drug test.
Exactly.
You know, so it was very hard to know what was the issue. I went to a bunch of doctors. I did all the EKG, everything, my heart, everything was fine. But when they did the lab tests of knowing what kind of sweat glands I had both, but they're very tiny. And then maybe they're like, it could be a neurological thing. So I mean, here and there, all I heard was, you don't know. So the only way I could provide myself a solution to keep playing what I love to do was just have a cooler with the water, ice,
Your
and
ice
a rag.
towel. Yes.
My ice towel.
And, you know, this is interesting. And I mean, thank you for sharing all of this, because it's the things that every athlete has their own obstacles, whether that's physical, mental, you know, anything that goes on with their performance. And for you, was this something that you experienced even in high school?
Yes.
Okay, so it was for a while, and you kind of were finding ways and solutions to actually help to cool your body. Because for those that don't know, so if your internal temperature gets to like 104, you're like in heat stroke already.
Yes.
And this is where you need to be rapidly cooled before you even go to the hospital.
Yes.
Otherwise you could die, you know? And obviously you were monitoring it for long enough where, you know, we didn't even let it get to that close, but you knew the severity and the potential. So this is one of the things that I remember too is, you know, not only the ice towel and trying to cool you down, but actually the whole season, one of my responsibilities was to get your game ready.
Yes.
And then game ready, if you don't know, it's actually ice and compression. But the unique thing about the game ready is because the unit is flowing cold water continuously, it keeps that temperature. Versus if I just put ice on you, the ice would be melting rapidly, right? If you're really hot. So the game ready kind of keeps this cooling system and allows you to use it in intermissions, timeouts, and all of that. And with the vest too, I guess the compression, it doesn't hurt because it is, you know, kind of getting things moving, getting some compression, getting some venous and, you know, everything going back to your heart. So it's trying to cool you faster. But the funny story that I will add here, kind of going off on a tangent, is that the thing is air compression and the cooling. And one of the times, this was completely my fault, Eric, when you listen to this, you know, I apologize again, but I was trying to move the unit, getting the air out, and then I popped the game ready vest. And the game ready vest is probably around like $200, $300.
It's a lot,
as a student. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I popped the vest, but the cooling still works. So that was good. But talk a little bit about the actual finding ways to try to cool you down as fast as possible at timeouts, in between sets, intermissions, and what did you experience as the athlete?
Well, what everybody doesn't realize is that I call it my heating problem because it definitely hindered me being at the best at my top level. Because I will be working out with everybody, tip top shape and everything, but I will definitely look like the first person who is tired, who is drained. And it could have been just running, you know, a set of suicides, and, you know, and I gotta make sure I'm cooling down. So, the first time was when I brought up our 10K. That's when I fainted. From there on, boom, all of a sudden I needed to, because before that, everything was fine with my multitasking of sports. After that, I had a heating issue, and, you know, coming out of schools, that was all we had was the cooler. We didn't have a game ready like college. So it was pretty cool how things progressed to have solutions. But at the time, it was all, I'm just underneath right over the cooler, and I'm just drenching stuff. So I'm like wet, I'm soaked, and everybody's like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, even for my club days, whoever that my teammates were one of those excessive sweaters, and they were like, oh my gosh, like I have to change my jersey every time. I'm like, yeah, that must be nice, you know, because I'm like completely dry, you know. So honestly, the only way that would help me was to be feeling that immediate sensation of cold water. The only other option was to make sure, like, even during timeouts, was that I had like even ice packs, you know, and my whoever, like my mom, even at the tournaments, bless her heart, she was literally squeezing water, even though the place is AC, she's frozen, and she's doing whatever she can to cool me back down. And what helped push me over to finish games was just my heart, like, hey, I want to win. Yeah. You know, I'm not gonna, please don't sub me out, because I got this. I know how far I can push myself. You know, so as I'm going into college, here all of a sudden is a game ready. I'm like, wow, game changer. You know, this is great. And I was so thankful for you guys, because you guys would know when to turn it on, because we're about to hit a technical timeout. You know, we're about to hit TV commercial, or inside the intermission, we had 10 minutes, right? So I know where to go with that. My vest is right there. When I sit on my bench, boom, I took off my shoes. I'm soaking my feet in the cold coolers, you know. And honestly, one of my favorite stories is besides cooling myself down, and I have no energy, right? So my other thing that people didn't realize was I was scarfing down some form of sugar. So I had Gatorade. I had M&M's. I even had this chocolate cake that I had from earlier. Like, I'm just scarfing things down because I'm trying to get some sort of energy to help me finish out the game. So that's been really rough to handle, and I just only can imagine how things could have ended up if that never was an issue.
Yeah, but even regardless of you pushing through these obstacles and adversity, and, you know, being able to perform, obviously you know that, yeah, I probably could perform better if it wasn't an issue. But just all of the things that you did with the circumstances, I mean, I don't know anyone else that would do the same thing. So, you know, it's interesting, and I like how you brought that up too, because behind the scenes, I guess the best way is, for me, it's almost like we're immune to that, because that's what we do, you know. We're all behind the scenes, but kind of when you explain it and I hear it back, these are things that most people don't experience, right? It's like every little second, if you have a minute and we waste 30 seconds of that, it's like that's 30 seconds that you're probably not going to be able to perform on the court as well. So every second counts. And then, like you said, understanding when how the game flow is going to go, the timeouts, the TV timeouts, getting everything set, you know, that's all crucial to help the athlete perform. And I'm not saying that, you know, the support staff needs to do that all the time, but even for the athlete, you were proactive. You knew, like, okay, this is what I need to do to make sure that I bring my body temperature down. And that is something, like you said, I don't think anyone else will understand, even us included, until you're actually in that. To be pretty much playing a volleyball game, max effort, when you're overheating. I mean, just think how challenging.
And no AC, sounds. Like high school wise.
Yes, no AC.
No AC at all. So I come to UH, and then we realized game times you actually have AC, and I was like, okay, so that helped me last, because back then we only did best out of 3, right? Then get to college, it's best out of 5. So I mean, it really played a toll that we had technical timeouts, we had intermission, and then on top of that, AC, because our regular practices in Gym 1, no AC, which I heard now they have AC.
Oh, I see. I didn't even know that.
Yes, all the gyms got AC now.
Oh, nice.
Yes, but back then,
where was that when you were there?
That's what I'm saying. So like back then, no more AC, which is why we had morning practices.
Yes.
So everybody kind of was like mad at me because I'm the sole reason why we had to do morning practices.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because if not, we would have always had afternoon. I mean, we could do some mornings, but it was like we had to do morning, like early morning, because a lot of people have morning classes.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, sorry, everybody.
Well, you guys got it out of the way. Yeah.
Like, even, you know how nowadays everybody has they love the long sleeve uniforms?
Oh, yeah.
We weren't, right? Yeah. And like, I even was willing to I think Mike tried his best to get it approved of to have only mine cut. Just to do whatever he can. Mm-hmm. So that's why a lot of things I was so appreciative that they tried their best to keep things cool for me. Yes. I even wanted to get those cool little, we wanted to try to get that approved that's considered jewelry. So yeah.
Yes. Well, thanks so much for sharing that, because I'm sure that not many people know, even your teammates or anything knows the actual experience. They know that you have to cool yourself, but to the extent of how you have to cool yourself, that is something interesting to hear. And maybe there's other athletes too that listen to this that have a similar problem, right?
Yeah.
In whatever sport they're participating in.